All right, we got a little 2025 collection here from Benchmade. At first glance, I thought this was a bit of a nothing burger, but there's some interesting stuff in here. So let's go through our early pages here. They got all their materials here. This is kind of cool that they, talk about all the different handle materials they use. It's relatively basic. It's kind of salesy, but it's cool that they give that little bit of detail in here. This is a nice little framework they've got to talk about their different steels. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with all of their categorizations, though they're better than they used to be. Um, Now, let's get into the knives here. So, bailout, they've still got all their typical bailout variations, but they did add some new bailouts for 2025 here. You've got a new Grivery bailout in S30V, which is nice because the problem historically with this black Grivery bailout is that the CPM 3V, now it sounds like I think they have gotten the heat treat right on this, but it used to have a really crappy heat treat on the 3V, which just made this not a great knife. Now, this one, they're putting some decent S30V in here. Nice choice for the bailout. Honestly, it's not all that tough and robust of a knife with how thin this blade is. This is a nice option. $200 for a bailout. Cool. And I do wish they would get rid of this backspacer, but it's a part of the bailout. We're getting a new aluminum variant here. Same sort of color scheme as their, let me go full screen here. Um, Same color scheme as their, what do they call it, 940 variants. You got your burnt copper here and your battle wash CPM Magna Cut blade. 325 is a lot for that, but it's a nice config, ignoring the price. And then, of course, they have pulled over their carbon fiber and S90V configuration over to the bailout. I think the bailout is actually a really good EDC style knife because of how thin this blade is and how thin and light the overall handle is. Even though it's marketed as sort of a tough knife, I think it works really nicely as an EDC. Now, 390 bones, a lot for this knife, a lot. But if I just look at it from a performance perspective, that's pretty good. An S90V is a blade steel that makes a lot of sense on something like the bailout. We do have another bailout configuration here. This is $400 for S90V, and rather than this one here is carbon fiber, yeah, textured carbon fiber on the handle, and I'm sure this will be nicely textured. This one here is more carbon fiber, but this is blacked out with rose gold accent. Very pretty knife, very good looking configuration. Again, $400 is a lot for what you're getting, but it's cool to see them expand the bailout. I prefer the bailout to the bug out pretty much categorically. So it's good to see more variants of that knife. You got your typical no expansions of the Redoubt, no expansions of the Presidio, keeping the triage the same here, keeping the Adamas the same, keeping the immunity the same, just carrying all of those forward. Now, this was one of the ones that stood out a lot to people on the Instagram posts for good reason. This is an eye-catching design, the Mini Bedlam, which I believe is something that is returning. Let me just check here. Yeah, this is an older design, or at least the Bedlam is an older design. Did they ever make a mini Bedlam before? No, this is, I believe, the first that they have made a mini Bedlam. There used to be a full-size Bedlam with this dramatic Persian blade, this dramatically curved handle. I mean, this is a very aggressive looking knife here. Under 14 thousandths is blade stock on a little bit the thicker side for Benchmade. And this is a heavy knife for Benchmade, 4.67 ounces with 3.45 inches of blade, or 4.9, almost 5 ounces in some of these other configurations. Now, they have made very nice configs here. This one has a where is it? Black G10, heavily textured black G10 on the handle here, S90V on the blade, which is a good choice. I'll never have an issue with S90V. This one here this is sort of your tactical variant, which has that coyote black OD, this sort of layer G10 here, very tactical, sort of like, desert looking here. Same kind of blade. And then you've got your high-end configuration here with marbled carbon fiber with looks like orange anodized backspacer, orange accents, still S90V on the blade. All very nice, very cool looking configs. The ergonomics on this are going to be insanely good, even though it's the mini Bedlam. It's not mini, it's 3.5 inches. 350 for these and 450 for this one is a lot of money for a knife. But these are going to be cool knives with this little ramp here, with the way this curves towards the back. These are going to be super comfortable in the hand. I think a lot of people are going to like these very much, as long as you get over the price, which is, this is Benchmade we're talking about. Their prices are ridiculous across the board. No changes for the auto stuff here. No changes in this other auto stuff, the CLA, the Caspa, the Mediator, all just carrying forward as it was. No changes to the Claymore line. We got some updates on the Claymore last season. No change on the Shootout line. So if you're a big fan of autos, it doesn't seem like there's anything new coming out of Benchmade on the auto front. It does seem like some people do love Benchmade's autos. I live in Southern California, so they're not relevant to me, and I don't have much of an opinion on them. The Fixadama staying the same. SOP, they're fixed blades here, all staying the same, so not that much new, not anything new there, nothing new on the SOCP front. So we're just flipping through this. This is all pretty standard stuff. Very useful for the people that need this stuff, not what a lot of the people that are sort of the knife enthusiast community are necessarily looking for. Obviously, you've got your standard bug out models here, all being carried forward. Bug out continues to do quite well for Benchmade. Now we do have some new bug out configurations. In addition to carrying forward everything from the previous season, your new aluminum configuration here with the Black Battle Wash M390. And I said previously that this was brass. This is brass colored aluminum. And these nice color configs here, this olive grivery and sort of the sage one here is very nice looking, your Desert Verde. You got a new high-end bug out, and this is, let me see, we're talking this is the new most expensive bug out, $330 for your carbon fiber and S90V variation. This is a $400 bug out here. You've got an aluminum, basically pseudo bolster here. I guess it is a bolster with a rich light overlay. And then you've got what looks like a two-piece backspacer here with aluminum on the outside and then some anodized aluminum inside with a custom pivot design and possibly even custom hardware here. And then S90V steel on the blade. This is a very cool looking knife. It honestly looks to me like they've almost taken parts from like Shark Knife Co.'s Waka. Waka was the first thing that came to mind when I saw this config with the way they did the triangle cutouts and just sort of the overall way that they did this handle. It's going to be a very pretty, a very cool knife. And for people that like to upgrade their bug out anyway and like to, slap custom scales on there, stuff like that, this is legitimately getting in the realm of, scales that are as nice, maybe even a little nicer than what you're going to get getting aftermarket scales on your bug out. So if you're the sort of person that, frankly, when you're putting aftermarket scales on a bug out, you take one of these $190 bug outs, that can quickly become a $400 knife when you start putting aftermarket stuff on here. This is just a high-end bug out ready to go right out of the box, which is cool. I don't think it's going to be for me. I have no need for a $400 bug out. But it is cool to see Benchmade pushing the high end with stuff that's a little bit more interesting. They started doing it last season with this configuration here and starting to do more interesting handle designs, not making their high end just the same knife as before with a nicer handle or a nicer blade steel. And then you've got another bug out over here, which is basically the same as your brass bug out right there. It's just rather than having M390 and bronze aluminum, you've got Crater blue aluminum and S90V for about the same price. I like this configuration a lot better because I prefer S90V over M390, but hey, it's more of the same there. For some reason, this one is 0.02 of an ounce heavier. I guess S90V is a slightly heavier steel than M390. There's only one new mini bug out, which is basically bringing to the mini this aluminum and S90V variant. I haven't handled one of these, but they look pretty cool. And again, it's nice to have an aluminum mini bug out. People have long said that this aluminum bug out is probably your best buy bug out. Honestly, it's hard to argue with that, especially on the secondary market where you can get this for $200 rather than $300. You get a lot of nice stiffness, a lot of nice tactility, and just a nice premium feel from these aluminum bug outs. And getting aluminum out of the box on your mini bug out is nice. And the fact is, like, if you're the sort of person that buys a mini bug out and then puts AWT scales on it or something like that, this is about the same price as taking your bug out and slapping some aftermarket scales on it. It's a little bit more, but you're also getting S90V steel on here. So it's cheaper to, if you want S90V, if you want that premium steel, it's cheaper to just buy this upgraded aluminum bug out than it is to buy, the carbon fiber version for the S90V and then slap some aftermarket scales on there. So the prices, everything is inflated for Benchmade, but the way that they're setting up these aftermarket ones, it's not terrible where some of these prices are coming, given where the baseline is for Benchmade and given what it would cost you to upgrade it yourself. No upgrades to the Narrows. One new Osborne configuration, 940, both in the 940 full size and the mini 940 here. Exact same configuration for both, which is we are getting another MagnaCut 940 variation rather than just the battle wash DLC and the burnt copper here. We're getting something that is a little bit more sort of organic, a little brighter, with blue denim micarta and a satin blade here. Now, I'm guessing they're probably going to put full liners under this. Anybody who's had aftermarket micarta scales for the 940, you know that linerless micarta just is not stiff enough for the 940 handle. These end up looking a lot like Flytanium scales, just when this gets a little bit more subtle. But I'm sure that this will be lined, and honestly, when you look at the weight here, it looks like it is lined. What's funny is that they say the prices are TBD for this. I would expect if this, MagnaCut and burnt copper aluminum configuration is $300, this one will probably be around $300. Benchmade might surprise me and make it a little bit more than $300, but it's another nice config, a nice way to get MagnaCut in your full-size Osborne or your mini Osborne. You're paying Benchmade prices for it, but I think, frankly, it's for a lot of people, they would rather, if you're paying $230 for an S90V mini Osborne anyway, a lot of people would rather pay $300 or $290 for a mini Osborne with MagnaCut than $230 for a mini Osborne with S90V. So good to see them continuing to expand that. One of the things that surprised me a little bit is the expansion of the barrage in here. You're seeing a new barrage here. We had a mini barrage in Rich Light in a previous season. Now we've got the full-size barrage coming back. Not a knife that I have much experience. I have no experience with. I don't do knives with an axis assist. It's just not interesting to me. I know a lot of people do de-assist their barrages. I feel like the weight on this almost has to be a typo. You're saying the weight of this knife is 2 ounces. If they manage to, because I guess maybe Rich Light is stiff enough and they can do this whole thing without liners, this would actually be a super compelling EDC knife, especially de-assisted. If this is literally a 2-ounce knife with a 3.6-inch blade that's 121 thousandths thick, that would be, I mean, if you compare that to the Griptilian right here, the Griptilian, the blade is shorter, the blade is thinner, and yet it's almost twice the weight. I don't really think that this is 2 ounces. I think that is probably a typo, especially because this barrage here is 4.3 ounces. But anyway, regardless, it's a cool config. You got a drop point blade here, so they're taking your, the drop point you had here, and they're raising that grind, so this will be even thinner behind the edge, a bit slicier. Rich Light is a very nice material in the hand. I really like the feel of Rich Light. I like seeing Benchmade use a lot more of it. 320 is dear, but if you're the sort of person that likes the Benchmade, if you like axis assist knives, this is a good choice. S30V, a little disappointing at 320 bucks. It's Benchmade, whatever. You're also getting the exact same thing in a dark red rich light with a DLC blade. This is a very cool looking. Okay, there's the weight correct on that one. 3.76 ounces. That's what I would expect. So, yeah, it's a bit of a chunker. The Barrage always has been. But this is a very cool looking knife. I think a lot of people will like this knife, especially because a lot of people that aren't uber knife nerds do like axis assists. And you've got the same config over here in your mini Barrage, which again, probably an extremely comfortable handle. Looks very nicely contoured, lots of nice details on the machining and the milling here. Not a bad design, just not one that I have experience with. No updates in the catalog here to the Freak, though there's one that I think they sort of miss putting, which I'll talk about at the end. The PSK here, we've got a new PSK. I have not reviewed the PSK. I don't know if I'm ever going to review the PSK for the same reason that it's an axis assist. It's also super expensive and just a knife that I have no purpose for whatsoever. But considering this is basically a very practical sort of user-based blade with relatively thick stock for Benchmade, an axis assist, and just this big overbuilt feel to it. It almost feels like if you want something like the Adamas that cuts a little better than the Adamas, the PSK is kind of made for you. This new PSK configuration is a really smart config overall. They have made this out of Grivery rather than G10, which is going to bring the price down and bring the weight down just a tiny bit. And they've chosen LMAX as their blade, which is also going to bring the price down while still keeping everything that you would want in a knife like the PSK. MagnaCut, great steel, but LMAX is tough. LMAX has decent enough edge retention. LMAX is very stainless. If this one is $400, I wouldn't be surprised if this PSK comes somewhere close to $300. And in this configuration, you've got, to the extent that the PSK design speaks to you at all, you've got a really nice user config of the PSK here. So I do really like what Benchmade did with this configuration compared to the earlier PSKs. I think this is going to be the most compelling PSK on the market. And frankly, it's probably going to drive more people to the $400 one because so many people just don't like Grivery. And if this one comes in at $300, they're going to say, I'll swing another $100 to get the G10 version. We got two new axis flippers here. I guess one, you got a $491 here. Price is TBD. I wouldn't be surprised if these come at $400, somewhere close to that. A very sort of, you can see the similarities to the Vector here, especially in the blade design. They call it a spear point. This is basically a dagger grind. It's just not sharpened on the top for legal reasons. But you got an axis lock flipper with this super neutral, sort of futuristic looking handle. Aluminum in both configs. It looks like they're using very bright, almost polished aluminum finishes. Bronze anodization on your axis lock here. And then you've got blades of 20 CV in both cases. I'm assuming this is 0.09, not 0.9. That would be an extremely thick blade. This is going to be something that looks cool. We don't have a price for them yet. I'm guessing probably around $400. We don't have a weight. They're going to be, not light, relatively small. These are sub 3-inch blades. These are going to be fun, fidgety flipper knives that are going to be overpriced. You've also got Benchmade's typical far too low HRC on the 20 CV, if you ask me. But hey, these aren't going to be users for anybody. They're going to be cool, futuristic little flipper things. They kind of remind me a bit of HEA design, some of the stuff that they've done. You got a new 710. It's whatever. It's still overpriced. It's the exact same as this version that I reviewed here. I was not a fan of that version. There's nothing in the configuration that would make me a fan of this one. Now, my favorite thing to see in this Benchmade catalog is right here. The 315 and the 315 BK01. These are new Benchmade slip joints. These are going to be, the weight is TBD, but these are aluminum with, it's all aluminum here. So it's two different colors of aluminum here. Very sleek, very sort of lean, refined design here. Thin blade stock, MagnaCut on the blades. This is going to be very comfortable the way it bows into the hand. It's going to be a very, nice small knife blade shape for your kind of, paring knife task. You're, cutting up an apple, whatever. It's going to be a very nice knife to carry. It's a really good, lean slip joint design from Benchmade. I'm guessing $300 for these. The price are TBD, so it is going to be a little bit dear for what they are. Looks like it's going to come with a clip slip, but this is a great design from Benchmade. This is one that I could see selling very well. This is one I like, even the pop of green here on the butt. It's going to be a very cool knife. I think a lot of people are going to like it. I could see Benchmade making a lot of variants of this knife over time. This one, they're definitely going to make a gold class of it down the road if it sells well. Everything I see about this knife, not knowing the price yet, not knowing the weight yet, I mean, I could see this one being 2 ounces, maybe even a little bit lighter. I think a lot of people are going to be fans of it, especially given how hot slip joints still are in the market. Nothing new on your balisongs here. We got a couple updates on those last season. Nothing new. Nothing new on the fixed blades. The prices on these Cyber fixed blades are completely out of control. $480 for that. That's indefensible, even by Benchmade standards. You've got a new Dacian. I never quite figured out how to pronounce this. It's a blacked out version. It's the tactical version. Cool. I have always found that this knife looks less impressive in reality than it does in pictures. In pictures, it looks super, super cool. In reality, the finishing isn't quite as refined as it looks. So, not the biggest fan of it. Nothing I'm ever going to get, especially, at $300. There are so many good custom or small batch production fixed blades on the market at or around $300 that getting something from Benchmade, unless you really like these designs, it's just a bit of a funny choice for me. I know they're trying to capture how hot fixed blades are in the market, but yeah, at $200 would have been super compelling. At $300, a little hard to justify. We've got a fixed bug out here, which really just shows how much EDC fixed blades are a mainstay of the market now. This literally looks like a bug out. You've got a sub 3-inch blade. You've got this is going to be relatively light because you've got Grivery handles here. S30V, it's a fixed bug out. I don't know quite who asked for a fixed bug out. I don't know if this is going to be all that compelling. It will probably be overpriced. I could see it being, $250. I could see this costing more than the folding bug out. I don't know why you would want to go through and have something that you carry in a sheath that has the same profile as a knife that its entire reason for existence is having a teeny tiny carry profile and being super light. But people really like pocket fixed blades right now, so cool. Let them have what they want. Onto the water series. Fishcrafter, same as usual. All of this stuff, same as usual. They are going, it's all MagnaCut now. We do have new Adira and mini Adira versions. We've got the tactical versions where you've got gray Grivery and a blue Cerakote on the blade. Otherwise, the exact same configuration. They're only charging $10 more for this version compared to the Adira. I might review the Adira at some point. It's not something that I am really compelled to look at, but I very well might over time. But there's a cool configuration here. It's nice to see. They're also adding a serrated Adira. And then we got the exact same things coming through on the main. Nice config, cool. People will like this. I think the Adira is probably going to be a really nice EDC option for a lot of people. And this is bringing that out. Is this a duplicate? Oh, no. They're just getting serrated and non-serrated versions of both. Hunt line, all about the same. I think, no changes to your hunt line here. We did get 2 new Crooked Rivers. The Crooked River hasn't had any updates in a while, except for that factory series that came out last year. This is cool, getting MagnaCut on the Crooked River. That's nice. You got black canvas micarta and a burnt copper anodized aluminum bolster. Lots of aluminum here in Benchmade. The Crooked River is a nice model. And this version is about the same weight as the other Crooked River. I've often seen it as a nice alternative to the 940 if you want something that just has a bit of a more traditional blade shape. And in MagnaCut, that the toughness of that steel suits the Crooked River really well. This is going to be way too expensive. These are both going to be like $400 knives. But it's an attractive configuration. And I think a lot of people that really do like the Crooked River could see themselves picking up this new version here. You've got two new tagged outs, both in Grivery, bringing the thumb stud to the Grivery. The thumb stud tagged out is a nice configuration. The thumb stud is easy to access. This is going to give you a cheaper way if you want a thumb stud tagged out. As I said in my full tagged out review, that thing slices like a demon. I think it is just a better knife for most people than the bug out. And these are good configurations here that'll probably come, I don't know, $250, $240, something like that. If this one's $200, they'll charge you a little bit more for the thumb stud and the Cerakote, but not too much more. They're attractive. They'll be nice choices. It doesn't look like, you're not getting mini versions of those yet. And then you've got their absurdly overpriced chef knives. We're getting nothing new there. The price on these are absolutely, completely ridiculous. And then you've got the lowest res picture I've ever seen of a gold class knife, but apparently we're getting a gold class mini barrage, which has S90V and fat carbon scales. It's going to be super cool, and honestly, $500 for a gold class. They've been a lot more ridiculous recently. $500 for this knife is completely absurd. But if you like the barrage, there's a bunch of new barrages in this year's catalog, and this is another very cool high-end version of the barrage. Some people are going to love this. And then finally, the one thing that I just noticed here, when you look at this, so we've got some coming out in January, Feb. You got launches all throughout the year here. If I look at the most interesting stuff, your slip joints are coming until October. The new PSK is in September. Those new flippers, your 491s, are in August. Those new Crooked Rivers are in July. May is your Adira series. Couple new bug outs in April. Those new mini bedlams and all the barrage variants, and your new super high-end bug out. That's all in March. Now, the one thing that they didn't have in the catalog here is they've got a new Freak, which looks like it is in Ultim and a dark purple Cerakote. About a full year ago, we got those couple new Freak variants. This is going to be a super popular new variant of the Freak. I still like Ultim. I think it's a pretty cool material. I think people are going to dig this one. A 565, that means if I flip back through here, I didn't think I'd be flipping quite so far. A 565 means, that's going to be a mini Freak. So there's going to be a new mini Freak. A new mini Freak in Ultim and purple Cerakote. And that brings us to the end of the catalog here. And Benchmade's catalog is getting pretty huge. So, some cool barrages, a couple of cool new models. Honestly, this is about as exciting as the Benchmade catalog has been in a little while. And they're finding better ways to bring new models into the market, finding better ways to bring new higher-end configurations into the market. Honestly, a pretty solid catalog overall. And I'm looking forward to seeing when some of these come out into the market. So we're going to have releases all year from Benchmade. I will probably get around to reviewing some of them at some point or another, once I can get them on the secondary market for a more reasonable price. Anyway, hope you found this little overview helpful. And stick around to the channel, like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks so much.